Guam.
KUAM News, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
KUAM News Hotspot is brought to you by
Pacific Points, Do More, Get More, and Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
It is not just Tuesday here on the Hotspot, it is Super Tuesday, and we are going to take you all around the island to show you what is happening as Guam celebrates our ability, our choice to make an informed decision and pick our next generation of leaders. I'm Jason Salas. We are KUAM. We're coming to you live from Harmon. Let's go.
The menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
We are going to bring you regional reports from all of Guam's major polling stations as we check in with our reporters who are out and about this morning. Nationally, a climate conference is taking place in Egypt, bringing together representatives from all over the planet. We will also introduce you to the island's new chief medical examiner and his responsibilities, and we'll tell you about an investigation now underway following a very disturbing riot at a game of rugby that happened over the weekend. Well, as I mentioned, Team KUAM reporters have been out and about on this Super Tuesday because, of course, the polling stations opened at 7 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. tonight. Let's first check in with our Hannah Devanzo, who is tackling the northern part of the island. Hafaday, Hannah.
The general election is finally here, and I'm visiting a few of the northern polling sites where there's the largest amount of registered voters. I've spoken to a few island residents who have expressed concerns from the island's crime to women's rights.
Of course, more like they're promising the new hospital maybe, and better school like the Sanchez and the rest of the school in Guam for better schools.
And if you haven't voted yet, you still have time. The polls close at 8 p.m. Keep it here to KUAM News. We'll bring you live coverage throughout the night.
All right, thanks so much, Hannah. Now, a few miles down, we are going to check out the central part of the island where it's been quite busy so far. Our Matsuki Hirayama checked out some of the polling sites in the central part of the island.
Hi Jason, I'm here at JFK where over 5,000 people are registered to vote. It's been a pretty slow morning, but it's bound to pick up soon. And you can see people are still continuing to filter in to cast their ballots this morning. I also spoke with gubernatorial candidates Leon Guerrero and Felix Camacho as they casted their votes as well.
I've been down this road before, but this has been very different. I guess just a bit more seasoned and with social media and the like, it's a bit different than that, but still it's pressing the flesh, meeting the people, understanding the issues that are before them. But I've had no anxiety, no stress, just really enjoying this wonderful journey. Just grateful and thankful that I'm a contender, at this stage of my life.
This time around, I think for me, felt there were a lot more negative personal attacks towards which are unfounded, fake news. I don't think they can justify their allegations that they have said about it. But that's part of the campaign. But I just thought that it was more negative and more very personal, brutal attacks.
And don't forget, if you haven't voted yet, you can still come out and vote. Polling sites close at 8 p.m. So don't forget to vote. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, fantastic job, Matsuki. Great job getting not one, but two governors, of course, Felix Camacho, the previous governor of our great island, serving 2 terms, and of course, the current incumbent, Leon Guerrero. For context, Matsuki's still a rookie reporter. She's doing a fantastic job. It took me about 7 years before I interviewed both governors at the same time, so she is off to a great start at her career here at KUAM. Great job once again. All right, putting some considerable more distance on the old odometer is our Daniel Perez, who headed down to the southern part of Guam. He's in the village of Talafofo.
Top of the day, we're here in the southern village of Talafofo, where one after another people are casting their ballots. And joining me is one resident, Mr. Leo. It's election season. It's time for change. There are a mountain of issues that some of our residents have addressed and talked about. But how about you? Is there any specific issue that you think should be changed this coming election?
Yes, indeed. But just more of, I think the thing that should change is more people helping each other, less selfishness, and, you know, let the island be clean, help one another out. Simple respect, you know, it's the main thing. And helping each other out at tough times.
Mr. Leo, by helping each other out, could you explain more, like
throwing out the trash for an auntie and uncle that need help. When you see trash on the road, pick it up. You know, don't be ashamed. You know.
How about helping those that you know, are going through some tough times? Is that part of one thing that should be changed?
Very important thing that should be changed, but slowly working. You know, because of the pandemic and everybody healing from it. So slowly but surely we'll get together.
And is there anything more, you know, that you think should be more talked about, like maybe the high crime rate, or maybe our schools needing big revamps?
Let's talk about crime rate and more about positive things that's happening, because they seem to talk about more about the crime rate and all that. People don't really care to hear that. I don't, personally. I like to hear good things, you know, every day, so that's all I look forward to.
All right, thank you, Mr. Leo. Well, he's just one of the many residents casting their ballots for this election. And remember, election polls close at 8, so you still have a lot of time to vote. Now, we'll throw it over to Tomas over in Messina May.
All right, good reporter hustle there. Once again, from Daniel Perez down in God's country. And, you know, just let you know, ladies and gentlemen, we will be around the island all day today. So if you happen to see one of our reporters, they got that nice microphone that says KUAM News, wave us down, flag us down, and we'll see, because we want to get your responses too. Well, we are also been gathering your responses online, and earlier this week, our weekly question generated quite the feedback on our Instagram page. The question was, let's go ahead and recap now. Here we go. What is the most pressing issue that your elected leaders need to tackle? All right, right off the bat again, and this is from Instagram. I'm not even going to try and attempt to say that handle, but it's really, really cool. Accountability with government services, FGLE. Oh, that's pretty cool. Sorry if I got that wrong. Alan is Alan, also on Instagram, says economy and crime are the main concerns. Certainly something that has been echoed throughout our island community, not only throughout this current election season, but year-round. 0obert_Hardier says if they don't know, they need to step down. Ooh, snap. Very, very true. Calling for accountability. Tim J.E. Rivera says healthcare and inflation. So we are spanning the globe, running the gamut as far as island issues that you are concerned with. And MZZP Flores says get Guam clean. Talking about the environment and cost and quality of living here, from the trash everywhere, the drug problem, and sex offenders. So interesting combination there, both of environmental concerns as well as crime and quality of living here. All right, well, we are moving on to national headlines now. Stay tuned, because we got some more local stuff coming up. But candidates across the country are using the final day of the campaign season to make sure their supporters go to the polls tomorrow.
In a final day of campaigning,
we're going to be going all across Pennsylvania during this last day before Election Day.
Candidates in the nation's most watched races are making their final pitches and final pushes to get out the vote.
Vote! Do what? Vote!
In Pennsylvania, as Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman thanked volunteers, he acknowledged the race against Republican Dr. Mehmet Oz is neck and neck.
I won my very first election by one single vote.
Oz will hold a rally tonight.
We can fix this, but John Fetterman can't. John Fetterman believes Joe Biden didn't spend enough money.
All eyes also remain on Georgia, where Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock is hammering his opponent in closing arguments to voters to hold on to his seat.
If you can't tell us the truth about the basic facts of your life, why would we trust that you're going to tell us the truth about the issues facing us and what we have to do to overcome them?
Republican challenger Herschel Walker rallies tonight with Senator Lindsey Graham and former HUD Secretary Ben Carson.
So I'm going to tell Senator Warnock, don't let that door hit you in the right side as you walk out of that room. That room don't belong to you, sir. That room belongs to the people. And you went to Washington and you forgot about the people that represented you.
Republicans are sticking to closing messages focused on the economy and crime. Democrats are hoping issues including abortion rights and democracy energize their supporters. With the current Democratic majority in Congress razor thin, Republicans would need to win a net of just 1 seat to flip the U.S. Senate and a net of 5 seats to take control of the U.S. House. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And featured in that story, of course, Herschel Walker, the 1982 recipient of the Heisman Trophy, of course, for the defending national champion this year, Georgia Bulldogs. All right, the president will wait until after the midterms to head to Egypt for a global climate summit. World leaders are already starting to negotiate.
It's a global problem demanding a global solution. More than 100 world leaders have descended on Egypt to discuss the climate change crisis.
We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator.
At this year's climate conference, national leaders will tell their own stories of devastation, like Pakistan, which suffered its worst flooding in recent history. Record rain, melting glaciers, and a severe heat wave swamped a third of the country over the summer, leaving millions homeless and causing $40 billion in damage. Europe witnessed one of its driest, hottest summers this year, with wildfires sweeping large parts of the continent. And in the U.S., more than half of the country is experiencing drought as the mighty Colorado and Mississippi rivers run dry.
The clock is ticking. We are in the fight of our lives, and we are losing.
Activists say they're fighting for the survival of future generations.
The young demographic, the biggest demographic on Earth, we are 1.4 billion, but we are also the most affected and we're disproportionately impacted.
And for the first time, young people will go from the streets to a seat at the conference table, allowing them to share their climate concerns with world leaders. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Let's get back to local news now, as our island is now caught up with the backlog of autopsies, as the island's new chief medical examiner, Dr. Jeffrey Nine, has already gotten to work in the first week that he moved to the island. We spoke with him during an event hosted by the Guam Police Department.
Meet Dr. Jeffrey Nine. He's board certified, 26 years of experience, and now the island's newly hired full-time chief medical examiner. The doc moving to Guam from Arizona with his wife and pets less than 2 weeks ago.
We're very happy to be here. I've been a medical examiner for many years, and I'm very thrilled to have been finally able to make it here on Guam.
Dr. Nine first accepted the position left vacant by retired CME Dr. Aurelio Espinola back in January. Over the summer, he had to withdraw due to his wife suffering from a serious illness. He says she's now recovered and in good health. The couple then deciding to revisit the move to Guam.
There's that secondary calling for me to go where I feel like I can be most used and where there's most need for people, and Guam certainly fit that bill.
In recent years, government officials were forced to outsource forensic exams from Saipan in Hawaii. Dr. Nine's arrival now means families and police investigators are no longer having to wait a lengthy time for an autopsy report.
It was breaking my heart to hear that these families were waiting for their loved ones, and that was another big draw to me. And I'm ready to go. I mean, I did 3 autopsies and external exam, we call them, or non-autopsies, on Thursday.
Already?
And then...
It's not this traditional first day. Dr. Nine right into it. So.
Yeah, I was ready to go. I knew what needed to be done. And Dr. Dotterman graciously finished up some of the other caseload over the weekend. So I think we're in a good place now. We should not have a continual backlog from this point.
All right, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but when the hotspot returns, we check out our friend Tomas Manglonia up north to see how voting is going up in the Commonwealth.
basically you have no say.
When someone is given power and authority, their character is revealed. Lou, you have used your executive authority under a declared state of emergency to do whatever you wanted, issuing 71 executive orders, and have governed like a dictator.
Can't make that amount work right now.
Mom,
what is it?
Can I get new basketball shoes?
We'll see.
Can I please have $20 for my field trip?
I don't know. Can I go to my friend's house after school?
Anak, hindi pwede.
We're all trying our best to make ends meet. The governor's child care programs are helping businesses and working families care for Guam's kids. This ad is paid for with funds administered by the Department of Public Health and Social Services. Visit guamchildcare.com to apply today.
Pacific Points is more rewarding with friends. From now until December 31st, get 300 bonus points for every friend you refer that signs up and earns points. Both you and your friends will enjoy awesome rewards like free Shell fuel, rebates on your IT&E bills, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. Plus, earn more points to upgrade your membership tier and enjoy even more exclusive rewards. Learn more at PacificPoints.com or download the app. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
We ask for your vote. Please join us so we can usher in a new season for Guam.
Our cause has always been bigger than the two of us, and definitely much more important than party. We have felt the groundswell of support from Republicans, Democrats, and all our brothers and sisters in the island community.
We have a plan for Guam, a way forward that was developed by people of all walks of life. The plan is sound and workable and a product of many concerned citizens joining together for a common cause. It is a vision of Guam based on the values and beliefs our culture is built on.
We have the drive, the vision, the experience, and the commitment to see Guam through the economic and social turmoil that is devastating our people and will only get worse if something isn't done soon.
We thank you for speaking with us, for welcoming us into your homes, and to listening to how a Camacho-Ad administration intends to get Guam back on the right track to prosperity.
We have been especially proud of the Generation of Promise Youth Group that has been an active force in this campaign. The young adults realize that simply wanting change isn't enough. They want to be agents of change. More importantly, will cast their vote, some for the first time.
So we urge all of you who haven't done so yet, let your voice be heard. You have a say. Your voice will speak volumes.
We ask for your vote. Please join us so we can usher in a new season for Guam.
I'm Felix Camacho.
I'm Tony Adams.
We approve this message.
KUAM News, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
Welcome back to HotSpot, everybody. If politics is your thing, today seems quite the busy day, if I can get that out right. And that seems to be the case up in the CNMI, where Tomas Mangloni is standing by with the very latest with the election day in the Commonwealth. Hafaday, Tomas.
Jason, what can I tell you? It's been an electrifying mood all around the island. We got up bright and early at 7 a.m. when the first polls opened across the island. I'm standing here in the village of Cagman. I'm not sure if you can hear the background noise, but music is blaring. There's food out on every table. They've got the barbecue pit going, and motorcyclists are revving their engines. If you had your eyes closed and you didn't see any of the campaign signs, you would think there was an island-wide fiesta, everyone rooting for their candidate. We have the Republican team here on this corner, the independent team on this corner, and the Democrats further down the street. This has been the case at every precinct that we've been visiting this morning. Voters telling us that they're ready to see change, and they believe that it's their candidate who will deliver that change in their party for the island community. And I know we've been reporting on Saipan for the past week, but keep in mind that Rota voters are also voting on the island of Rota. Tinian voters are also voting on Tinian, and voters in the Northern Islands are also casting their ballots. And so it truly is a day of democracy in action. And we got to talk to a few of supporters for each of the camps earlier this morning, and we want to share a few of those interviews to show you what's motivating them today to support and show out for their candidates.
Family's been it for the longest run from day one, and I believe this party is the party for the people, and the entire Commonwealth will be benefit from this administration again.
And how do you feel about the crowd coming out to support today and throughout the past week of early voting?
I am confident that will prevail. The GOP will prevail, and hopefully I'm true to that. And I just wish that the people would feel that this is the party that helps the economy and the entire people of the Commonwealth in their lives. And every day of their lives, especially. I am a retiree, and I'm so happy that this governor is able to give me 100% of my retirement benefit. I just wish that all retirees have the same sentiment with me.
Why are you supporting Independent? Why are you coming out to support them today?
I'm supporting the 80 team because it's time for change. You know, there's a lot going on here in our island, and it's time to have trusted leaders for our cinema. You know, it's been how many years, and it's time for change. That's why I am voting for Palacios and Apatang, 80 2022.
Yeah, I'm supporting Tina and Layla and our Democratic candidates because I'm really concerned about the future of our young, my children, my grandchildren. We need to change this. We need to change it and make it a honest government again for the future of the Sinamay. So that's why I'm voting blue.
All right, and what do you think about turnout so far? Over a third of people voted early. Are you confident in people showing up for the ticket?
Yes, I think so, since we have about over 19,000 registered. I hope that they all show up and vote. We saw with the early voting that people have shown up. So I hope everybody else that has not voted will come in today and vote.
And there you heard it. The supporters are out in full force across the islands of Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. As we reported last week, the gubernatorial tickets all voted early on Thursday. Governor Ralph Torres and Senator Vinny Sablan under the Republican camp voted early. On Friday, the Democrats, House Representatives Tina Sablan and Layla Staffler voted early. And over the weekend as well, Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios and Mayor David Apatang under the independent ticket also voting early. And that last voter there, as you heard mentioned, there's over 19,000 voters. That's the most any election has ever seen in Commonwealth history. And in early voting, in the 7 days of that early voting, over a third of voters in the NMI voted early. And so tonight, perhaps there are two questions. The first question being, what will the voter turnout be? Will we see a majority of the record of 19,000 voters actually show up to the polls today and vote for their candidates? And secondly, once those votes are tabulated, will a gubernatorial candidate get more than 50% of the votes? Because Jason, as we've been explaining this entire time of the election, in our election coverage, if no gubernatorial team gets more than half of the votes, 2 weeks after the votes are certified, then there will be a runoff election. And everyone we've spoken with so far tell us that that likelihood is very high. And so we do have all the information on polling places today up at KUAM.com. You can also follow us on KUAM CNMI on Instagram. Again, polls close in the NMI at 7 p.m. on Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. Jason, the music is still blaring loud. Cars are honking, and it seems like everyone's having a good time. And we're expecting this energy to sustain itself throughout the next 24 hours once winners are announced. For now, I'm Tomas Maglonia reporting on Saipan for KUAM.
All right, let's get back to some Guam news now. Keep swiping because a series of fights in rather disturbing news broke out during a rugby game over the weekend. GPD did respond to the field at GW over in Minilao, with the incident forcing the Interscholastic Sports Association to investigate and ultimately take action on those involved. Daniel Perez explains in this report.
A friendly game of rugby between Southern High and Guam High turns chaotic, the weekend game spiraling into a full-blown riot between the two teams. In the video, players are seen one after another jumping into the violence in defense of their teammates, while coaches, referees, and other players try to stop it. The Interscholastic Sports Association is now investigating the cause of the mayhem. Marvin Linder is the ISA director for the Guam Department of Education.
It started with a illegal tackle, and I guess tempers flared and shoving match started. And then a gentleman came on the field and shoved one of the Southern players. And then I guess there were a couple people came on the field, and I don't know what happened after that. I just know there were fights involved. And unfortunately, we don't condone that type of behavior at all in our sports programs.
ISA is now trying to find out what sparked it. The Sports Association has been talking with stakeholders.
We'll get a statement from the officials at the game. I also asked for statements from the coach of Guam High, the coach of Southern, and we're trying to collect all the video evidence we can, and then we will meet and hand out infractions to whoever was involved.
Southern High already punishing players involved. Linder still waiting to find out what actions Guam High is taking in response. The Sports Association reminds players that fighting is not tolerated during any ISA event. Daniel Perez, KUAM News.
Now, of course, we always invite you to comment on any of our stories, with this one in particular drawing substantial feedback. Obviously, very many parents, school stakeholders, very, very concerned about that riot that broke out at, in a rugby game over at GW. So please follow us on social media on any platform at KUAM News, or you can check out our website. And once again, please add your comments and your thoughts on this very disturbing incident. In other news, this mid-morning, a man accused in a shooting near the Dedido Skate Park earlier this year has admitted to allegations against him in Superior Court. 29-year-old Daniel Savares pleaded guilty to assault, with a charge in the plea agreement a downgrade from the aggravated assault and special allegation for possession and use of a deadly weapon charge. His accuser told Guam's Finest that Savares shot him repeatedly with a BB gun. Savares faces up to a year in prison, followed by 2 years probation and a $500,000 fine. Sentencing for Savares has been set for February 9th. Also, drive-by shooting defendant Nicholas Moore is back in court this week for trial. Judge Alberto Tolentino denied his request. Prosecutors made critical judicial admissions when they asked the court to ban further questioning of co-actor Eric Salone. Defense wanted the admissions be read to the jury ahead of deliberations, with prosecutors contending they made no judicial admissions. The court then denied the request. Moore does stand accused of shooting reporting in Agani Heights more than 2 years prior. Trial continues tomorrow. Well, please do stay tuned, everybody, because we will have much more HotSpot coming up. And after this, I check in with Liz and Gina, my two friends from RE/MAX Diamond Realty Guam, where we will talk about what the perfect way to show off a home, whether a commercial property, whether a residential property is, and what you can do if you do plan to tour a property, and how you can work with your realtor to get the most out of that business transaction. That is coming up next.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Pacific Points is more rewarding with friends. From now until December 31st, get 300 bonus points for every friend you refer that signs up and earns points. Both you and your friends will enjoy awesome rewards like free Shell fuel, rebates on your IT&E bills, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. Plus, earn more points to upgrade your membership tier and enjoy even more exclusive rewards. Learn more at PacificPoints.com or download the app. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
There's epic, then there's ultra epic. Capture life in vivid resolution with Galaxy's most advanced camera system and the built-in S Pen that puts you in control. Every moment, every angle, from sunrise to sundown and beyond. More striking, more stunning than ever. Find the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra at your nearest iTunes store or online at ite.net and change the way you work and play.
Half a day. I'm Gunnery Sergeant Ruben Tan from Marine Corps Base Camp Blas, personally asking you to join me in supporting the Marine Corps Toys for Tots program by collecting new and unwrapped toys for children this year. The Toys for Tots program, now in its 8th year in the CNMI, has partnered with the Saipan Chamber of Commerce, Lady Diane Tours Foundation, and the associated students of NMC to make this holiday season a time to remember for kids and teens throughout the Commonwealth. You may drop off your new and unwrapped toys today through December 10th at any of the 30 businesses who are currently participating in our campaign throughout Saipan, the Lady Diane Tours Foundation, Commonwealth Bureau of Military Affairs, and CNMI Women's Affairs offices. We kindly ask that when purchasing this year, to please remember gifts for older children and young teenagers. On behalf of the United States Marine Corps and the KUAM Care Force, we thank you for coming together and sharing the spirit of the season.
Thanksgiving is a special time of year, a time to share a delicious, delectable feast with family and friends. But you can't cook. Leave it to the pros and let Uno Go deliver to your door. Check our app or website for Thanksgiving specials from participating restaurant partners, plus party platters, pies, and more. Have a happy Thanksgiving from all of us at Uno Go, Guam on Demand.
Can't make that amount work right now.
Mom,
what is it?
Can I get new basketball shoes?
We'll see.
Can I please have $20 for my field trip?
I don't know. Can I go to my friend's house after school?
Anak, hindi pwede.
We're all trying our best to make ends meet. The governor's child care programs are helping businesses and working families care for Guam's kids. This ad is paid for with funds administered by the Department of Public Health and Social Services. Visit guamchildcare.com to apply today.
Yasunto gilingwahin ni Tataw Tano gi KUAM News Tomorrow News Update sa stream gi internet gi Isla Radio ni KUAM News YouTube na channel. Pates ti gidiuda din kinimitin mami para insisteni linalay lingwahita din kulturata para todo henerasyon siya. Inafatwi sa Tomorrow News Update ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank.
Watch Mariana's artists, activists, and visionaries and their quest to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture on The Culture Club, a weekly feature on KUAM News digital platform and the KUAM News Weekend Edition, brought to you by Tropical Ice.
The Culture Club, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
This year, we're expanding our Decision 2022 platform to include comprehensive coverage of the election in the Northern Marianas. Stay with KUAM News for candidate conversations on Pacific matters, interviews with the gubernatorial teams, coverage of debates and forums, and live coverage on the general election night. We're your news leader, the voice of the Marianas.
Stay on top of breaking news and the biggest stories of the day with NBC News Daily. Get in-depth reporting from across the country and around the world, tips to take care of your health and your wallet, and up-to-the-minute local news. NBC News Daily, weekdays on NBC.
Hello, I'm Gunnery Sergeant Ruben Tan from Marine Corps Base Camp Blas. personally asking you to join me in supporting the Marine Corps Toys for Tots program by collecting new and unwrapped toys for children this year. The Toys for Tots program, now in its 13th year on island, has partnered with the Chamber of Commerce, Madsen Navigation Company, Catholic Social Services, and the Salvation Army to make this holiday season a time to remember for kids and teens throughout Guam. You may drop off your new and unwrapped toys between now and December 10th in any of our boxes throughout Guam or at the KUAM studio. We ask that when purchasing this year, please also remember gifts for older children and young teenagers. On behalf of the U.S. Marine Corps and the KUAM Care Force, we thank you for coming together and sharing the spirit of this holiday season.
KUAM News, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
We are House to Home. I am Jason. She is Liz Duenas. There we go, is Gina Campus, and we are a team. And unfortunately, we're not in Mescala today, but ladies, I got to tell you, thank you for doing that segment with me where we talked about politics and everything. I had the time of my life, and I had the meal that was the highlight of my week. So thank you guys for that. And if you don't know what we're talking about, check it out on our YouTube channel. Really
yeah,
fun.
that was a lot of fun, Jason.
It was food for the mind as well as the stomach.
That's right.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad we went that day because I didn't even realize they still have that mango cobbler. I'm hooked.
I know, and the fact that I got to steal your ice cream was, just bonus and everything. But tell you what, so we're
and the panna cotta.
And the panna cotta, there you go. Well, we are going to talk about real estate topics today. Something I've wanted to talk about with both of you, because both of you are such tenured members of Guam's real estate community. I wanted to talk, Liz and Gina, about there's so many different multimedia ways in the modern real estate market to show off a property. You can do virtual reality exhibits. You can do a video where you walk through, and we have a show that runs on our channel's Properties in the Tropics, which is fantastic. It's absolutely wonderful. But I'm thinking, when you do that kind of tour, as well as like an in-person tour, what do you as realtors try and highlight? Or, when you're taking someone either through a commercial property or a home for residential customers, and you're going through, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the kitchen, the hallways, and everything like that. What points of interest are you really trying to illuminate, and how do you direct and guide someone's attention?
Actually, before we take people out, sometimes we usually set up an appointment, especially if they're on island. I don't just run around. I send them data information on what property is available. However, my preference, have them come in, because I don't want to spin anyone's wheels and I don't want to spin my wheels. So we'd have a discussion, whether it's in person or online, where we would talk about what's important to them, what are they looking for, what amenities are associated with the properties they're looking at, whether it be for rent or purchase. And then what I would do is go through the MLS data sheets and say, okay, these are the properties that are available. Which one stands out for you? Which one are you most interested in? And then we kind of narrow down the list before we go out, because I think some people would just run around and show properties, but I'd like to fine tune it in terms of showing them what they would like best. And then we go from there. And I usually have them rank. If you see this particular property, what aspects of the property do you like? And then we narrow down the list and I have them rank it. So, for example, if they say, okay, I like property A, B, and C, and then I ask them, what about it do you like? And if for some reason a certain property was not included in that list, I will already know from their ranking, okay, we can add this to the list and then go from there. And then they start to narrow down their selection. But I always have them rank it, which is number 1, number 2, and number 3.
So basically, and you would look at that and you say, of the various properties that you ranked or rated, it seemed like they had like the little island in the kitchen had in common and everything. So I'm gonna try and find, properties that have that. Okay.
Exactly.
So you're basically doing like what Netflix does with movies and what Amazon does with the with books and items, and I guess eHarmony does with like dating. So
That's right.
okay, yeah. So Gina, even though you say you as a realtor you are in the customer service industry, and that's absolutely correct, you're still a salesperson, and there is an element, a very strong one, of salesmanship when you're taking someone through a house. So when you're doing that, you're probably reading their body language, their facial expressions, their reactions, and their responses to a property. So how do you kind of play on that?
Well, we have a responsibility to hear behind the words, right? Or to see what's behind the words, what's behind the expressions. And so you get to really know your customers. What I try to look for is what they're not saying. That's more important than what they are saying, right?
Ah.
It really is. And Jace, we get to look at properties every day. When we take our customers out, we understand that we see these properties every day. Maybe we've shown it more than once. And when you're showing too many properties at the same time, your customers will get confused. And your question in the beginning was, how do you help them focus? We help them focus by asking the right questions. When we go through a certain property, we're going to try to make sure we know what the right questions are, because if you don't ask the right questions, they won't focus. Let's say you're showing 5 properties today. Tomorrow you show another 5 properties. At the end of the week, I will even be confused. And so that's why it's really important to help them ask questions at each property. And I've got customers that walk through a house and 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later, they know this is not it.
Okay.
And
an analogy I always use is, maybe ignorantly, is unlike a car, which you're going to be used primarily for transportation, and so those are shorter sessions, you're looking at a physical structure where you will lay your head at the end of the day, where you will raise and probably create your family, where you will make meals, where you will entertain, and these are for long periods of time over a very, very substantial part of your life. Okay, so the usage is different. Yeah.
So absolutely. And we ask a lot of questions, and we don't ask a lot of questions because we're nosy. We ask a lot of questions because we're trying to help you focus. And the more you answer our questions honestly, the better we can in our minds. Because remember, as you answer the questions in our minds, we're thinking, what else out there should I be bringing them? And I've been surprised at the number of times that what somebody told me they wanted and what they ended up buying are on opposite ends of the scale.
Okay, Liz, I have a question for you. There's a popular theory out there when it comes to musical instruments, right? And I played guitar since I was like 5 years old. Some people believe that the man doesn't choose the instrument chooses the man, right? Do you see any parallel between that and like a piece of property where there's just that spiritual connection almost?
Actually, they talk about feng shui, right? And we don't quite understand it. All I know is if I go into a piece of property, I have a certain feeling. So when I take people around, I always ask them the questions. Well, what do you think? How do you feel about this property? How are you attracted to it? So yes, there is something about that. But again, as Gina puts it, we have to continuously ask the questions, but we listen from here and from a sensing, because sometimes, as Gina puts it, they're not saying something, but you could feel something either is right or is not right. So we have to constantly just ask the right questions to guide them and then fine tune it. But I always ask, how does it feel? Because when you're in property, there's a certain energy, there's a certain feeling, and sometimes it feels right and sometimes it doesn't. And I've heard clients say, the neighborhood, I love the house, but the neighborhood doesn't feel right. Or they like the neighborhood, but they're trying to find the right home. So again, asking the right questions, but at the same time, because I've had it where a customer said, I like the second one. I'm ready. And we're on our 5th and 6th. So you have to keep asking questions. How do you rank it? How do you feel? Which one feels right?
And what the young people would say these days, the kids these days would describe that sentiment as catching a vibe.
Right, exactly that. And I would say if you don't like it, be honest. I'd rather an individual be blunt and honest so we can move on and deal with it quickly versus the niceties and hiding behind the scene, because then you can't nail it. And I love to nail the right property to help the customer enjoy what either they're renting or what they're purchasing. So
There
that
you go.
makes a big
I
deal for
felt
me.
that when you say you wanted to nail it. I felt that right here and right here. Okay,
Yes.
Gina, I've been fortunate to tag along with the two of you on a number of occasions when you're showing me property, or we've live streamed stuff, and even when you're showing clients. Do you find that clients respond more favorably to like say if it's a military family that's relocating and it's some high-ranking admiral or something like that, the house is completely furnished and it's all made up. I mean, it's very, very very warming, very warm, and you've got like this wonderful accoutrement, as they say, and it really looks like a place where you can live because someone literally is living there? Or do you find people respond better to a blank slate and it's like a house without any, the carpeting's not up there, there's no furniture, there's no table hookups, but they can see the potential and they can see what it would do for them?
For me, honestly, I don't think that matters, because it depends on what the owners have. It depends on how they've staged it for us. I do prefer, me personally, I prefer to show an empty house, because then the individual going through the property can envision what it will look like for them. So I do prefer to show an empty house, but I know nowadays so many people want to stage it. And I find this staging really works well for the higher end homes, and it works well for rental property for the mid-range, because a lot of the mid-range people looking for property are looking for furnished housing. So, I don't think there's a right or wrong. And I think it just depends on what your customer is open to looking at, right? The other thing that I just want to point out is when we're working with our customers, the reason we also ask a lot of questions is we don't want to disappoint them. So we also want to make sure they focus on what their price range is going to be, because the worst thing that could happen is you bring someone to a property without qualifying them first. They fall in love with the property only to find out, to be disappointed at the end that it wasn't in the right price bracket for them. And then the other thing is, as realtors, we need to know when to keep our mouths shut, because there have been occasions where we're like, and when somebody falls in love with a property, it doesn't matter what your opinion is, does it? No. They're in love with it. And your job at that point is to take them to the end, whether it's they're buying it or they're renting it. It doesn't matter. They love it. Your job is to get them to the end, to get them to the keys. That's it.
Ladies, Valentine's Day is kind of a ways off, but do you two see yourself as like little cupids where, you're flying around with a bow and arrow, like with a heart shape, and, like you can sense when you can fire it at someone, it hits them right in the behind, and then it's like, oh, okay, this is home.
That's that's a beauty. And it certainly feels good when you've helped them find that home that they're happy with. I mean, that's always the key. Did we match them with the right property, and how do they feel about it? So that gives us joy.
Okay, every day not that you're actually literally trying to shoot people in the behind with bows and arrows. Metaphor.
No, Jace, every day is Valentine's for us. When we nail it, every day is Valentine's for us.
Wow. That's perfect. So we're just going to stop there, because I was trying to think of some classy way to, but that's perfect. So if you felt that as I did, and we hope all of you did, that's here, and here.
And here. And your dogging.
There you go. All right, ladies, thank you so much. I can't believe we just said that. Okay, we'll see you next week, assuming we don't get thrown off the air. All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Okay.
That's what editing's for.
There you go. In the end, right.
Thanksgiving is a special time of year, a time to share a delicious, delectable feast with family and friends. But you can't cook. Leave it to the pros and let Uno Go deliver to your door. Check our app or website for Thanksgiving specials from participating restaurant partners, plus party platters, pies, and more. Have a happy Thanksgiving from all of us at Uno Go, Guam on demand.
Hello, I'm Gunnery Sergeant Ruben Tan from Marine Corps Base Camp Blas, personally asking you to join me in supporting the Marine Corps Toys for Tots program by collecting new and unwrapped toys for children this year. The Toys for Tots program, now in its 13th year on island, has partnered with the Chamber of Commerce, Matson Navigation Company, Catholic Social Services, and the Salvation Army to make this holiday season a time to remember for kids and teens throughout Guam. You may drop off your new and unwrapped toys between now and December 10th in any of our boxes throughout Guam or at the KUAM studio. We ask that when purchasing this year, please also remember gifts for older children and young teenagers. On behalf of the U.S. Marine Corps and the KUAM Care Force, we thank you for coming together and sharing the spirit of this holiday season.
Get the latest updates and breaking news across the region by following KUAM CNMI on Instagram. Regional correspondent Tomas Maglonia brings what you need to know from the Northern Marianas at the palm of your hand. Full stories, daily updates, and snapshots of the beauty across the Marianas. Follow KUAM CNMI now.
All right, we are back on the hotspot, and it's time for weekly renewal with our friend Claire Calvo.
Weekly Renewal is brought to you by Calvo's Select Care.
Half a day, I'm Claire Calvo, bringing you your weekly renewal. Today I'm here with Risha again, who is a licensed professional counselor and most recently a quantum healing hypnotherapist. Welcome, Risha.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just had the most incredible transformative experience. I was actually I tried out the quantum healing hypnotherapy and it was incredible. But I wanted to talk overall just about, first of all, what inspired you to become a counselor?
You know, I get asked this question a lot, but I think the most sincere answer is I grew up very sensitive with a ton of emotions and not really knowing how to work through them. But as I was introduced to psychology, Sister Dorothy and Academy, it opened up to the world to there is a reason behind all of this. There is a reason behind your emotions, your thoughts. And from there, I just never lost interest.
I think most of us, though, we're feeling beings, right? And I think a lot of times, especially at a young age, when we're kind of told to shut down or, stop crying or, basically don't emote.
Right.
We're kind of given those messages young, and how opposite is it to what we're truly, because I'm sure in your practice you have seen the repercussions of shutting down and suppressing, repressing emotions. So, especially now that, we're coming along up on the holidays, like whether or not it's the holidays, can you share, what are some tools people, if they choose, that's the other thing. It used to be so taboo to see a therapist, and a lot has changed over the years, right? Everyone really
has a therapy. I believe that.
But what are some tools that you could offer, So, obviously it won't be like a full-on therapy session, but what are tools people could reach towards and use if they're feeling anxiety, for instance?
Right. I think you made a very good point that we were told not to feel our uncomfortable emotions mostly.
Right.
Like anxiety, fear, but we're learning now that that's not helpful for us. And
Well, what are some of the repercussions of not allowing that?
Well, it can go into your physical body. It actually, like, the worst case scenario is it could, even studies have shown it can even cause cancer at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've related anger to cancer, or holding in anger. Yeah. So there's studies that show now that it's related, right? Your emotions to your physical body, mind, heart, spirit.
Right.
So some things you can do are, the basic thing is just allow your emotions, right? I think with the holiday season coming up, it's going to be stressful. Sometimes you add more to your plate. And so sometimes stress can actually trigger certain emotions. It can trigger stress, it can trigger anxiety, it can trigger depression, yes, sadness for sure, irritation sometimes. So one tip I would think that would be helpful if you are not able to come into therapy is just being aware. Awareness is a good starting point to healing or to feeling better.
Yeah.
When you're aware of what's happening to you, when you're aware that you're actually feeling anxious, or you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling irritated, then from there you can kind of try to navigate, okay, why am I feeling this way? And sometimes we don't even know, and that's where therapy really helps, right? Is to try and figure that out. Okay, where is it really coming from? And how can I make it better?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could self-attest. I mean, just having that experience with you earlier with the quantum healing hypnotherapy, me coming in here, like, I really want to know what this is about, and trying to get, and of course, what can take you somewhere quicker than something like hypnotherapy. But I want to also touch on that a little bit, because quantum healing hypnotherapy is different than conventional hypnotherapy. Can you explain the difference?
Yes. So it was founded by this hypnotherapist. Her name is Dolores Cannon. My brother introduced me to her, so I did a training to be certified in quantum healing hypnosis. So what it does is it really takes you back to a different, some would say past life, but it just takes you to a time in your under your hypnosis where that can kind of show you a lesson that's related to this time in your life.
Right.
So there's two parts of it. That's the first part, and then the second part is your taps into, I would say, she calls it the subconscious, but I would call it to the part of you that is not blocked by your ego or by your mind or overthinking. And during the hypnosis, as you experience, right, you get to ask that part of you questions, and you answer from that place, that place that's not conditioned by anything from society, that's just really authentically you.
Right. And how rare is that, right? How are we? There's so much influence everywhere,
Right.
From our families, from our community, from social media, Although we try to say, oh, we're not influenced, but, isn't that what a belief is? It's like the repeated thought. It's kind of similarly with behavior. I don't know.
Absolutely. We're influenced from the time we're a baby.
Right.
Actually, they found that we're actually influenced from the time that we're in the womb. Because if your mother is stressed, the baby will already pick up that it's a stressful world.
Yeah.
So the time that we're even in the womb to the time we're a baby and we say, this is good for you, formula is good for you, breast milk is good for you, we're already being conditioned to what, society or the person that's caring for you, the person that's with you, thinks is best for you. And sometimes it's not.
Right. That's incredible. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time for part 2 of this edition with Risha again.
Weekly Renewal is brought to you by Calvo's Select Care.
All right, and that is going to do it for this episode of HotSpot. But before we let you go, we want to tell you about a quick programming announcement. After today, for the rest of the week, HotSpot, well, let's get to the general election. Why don't we do that? Current events first, right? We will be live tonight on YouTube and on Facebook Live starting at 10:30. We'll be at both gubernatorial camps. We'll also have a bunch of analysis. You can make sure to check us out once again on YouTube and Facebook. We'll be posting the very latest results whenever they come in, hopefully sooner than later. Hint, hint. on our social media platforms, so make sure to check us out at KUAM News. For everybody in the States, make sure to check us out. Watch us, hopefully not all night, but a significant portion of it will be on YouTube and on Facebook once again. And on that note, HotSpot, because it's expected to be a rather long night, and we've got the mainland elections coming up tomorrow, HotSpot's going to take a couple days off, and then when we come back on Monday, we will be a half hour each and every weekday, starting at 11 a.m., 30 minutes. So, we'll give you some time to go get to, your destination for lunch, because, we want you to be well-fed and well-nourished. Okay, so we have a busy day ahead of us. We will see you tonight at 6 p.m. for primetime. Bye-bye, everybody.